Hi, I'm Tony Russo, and this is Funeral Service Insider from Kates-Boylston. Each episode features conversations about emerging trends and news that affect the death care industry. We talk to people who understand the delicate balance of change in a profession and vocation steeped in tradition. This week, I'm speaking with Jedd Lapid. He is the executive director of the Funeral Service Foundation. If, for some chance, you don't know what that is, it's an organization that's dedicated to underpinning funeral service with engaged and engaging individuals. Sometimes I speak with students, but I've also spoken with lots of older funeral directors, 10 years in, 15 years in, who got the opportunity to go to a conference thanks to the Funeral Service Foundation, and it changed the trajectory of their career. I've spoken with people who wouldn't have been able to go to school without help from the Funeral Service Foundation. They do a lot of great work, and Jedd is just such an engaging guy. You're going to get a huge kick out of the chat. And as always, please stay on after the credits for the postmortem, where we will be talking about music in funeral service. And now, my conversation with Jedd Lapid. So you were new pretty much when I was new. We've been in the convention business for about the same time. We met at the NFDNMA.
National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association convention last year.
Right, and in Atlanta, and you were newish at the time. So can you tell me how you got the gig, what you used to do, and what appealed to you about coming into the Funeral Service Foundation?
My background is nonprofit management. I've worked for large and small nonprofits really over the last 25 years. Academic, healthcare. I worked at a community foundation, the Red Cross, a number of different experiences, mostly in fundraising, but also in management and helping organize nonprofits and charitable foundations. So that's really been my background over the last, really my whole professional career. Part of that is really a passion for helping others. And that's something inherent in the foundation and what the Funeral Service Foundation does. And it's really supporting funeral directors so that they can help support their communities.
That's interesting. So you came in, I also came in pretty much cold. Like I knew how to write business stories. I've been a business journalist for 20 years, but this is a very particular industry. And one of the benefits is you don't know what questions are too stupid to ask. But one of the downsides is sometimes you ask stupid questions and feel embarrassed, or at least that's my experience in my own coverage. Can you tell me how you kind of got your sense way around funeral service specifically?
Absolutely, Tony. My experience, I've attended many funerals for friends, family members. I lost my mom in 2018, my dad in 2019. I'll have to say that my experiences were really positive in helping plan and coordinate with our family, working with funeral directors and within death care. So personal experiences really only, right? And the beauty of the Funeral Service Foundation are our volunteers and also our affiliation with the NFDA. So I had a lot of experts who helped me orient into the funeral service profession. I got to ask a lot of questions, and you mentioned, just asking stupid questions, and that's really what I did. And I never felt like any question I asked was inherently stupid to ask.
No, there's a naivety that's just part of the learning process, and
inherent within funeral services is hospitality and care and compassion, and that comes through well when funeral service professionals are talking to newbies like us, and there's this really open, welcoming feeling that really helps you kind of integrate into learning more about what this profession means.
Yeah, it was very weird to me because, again, I've been covering businesses, and not everyone talks pleasantly about their customers in regular businesses. And my experience with funeral service has been like, even when they're complaining, quote unquote, about the families. It's really that the complaints are just about they just won't let me help them the way that I know they need to be helped. It's not they ask too much or anything like that. This is just quiet conversations that I eavesdrop on in bars at these conventions. They're still just mostly positive about their attitude. It's just been amazing to me over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think part of it is really understanding that when your primary customer base is inherently at their lowest and going through such a process that isn't very pleasant, who's there to help? And it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. And it's inherent in what my background with nonprofit and philanthropy. It's volunteerism. It's philanthropic. It's love of person, and that's kind of the ethos of philanthropy, and this profession is ingrained with that.
And now I want to talk just a little bit about the transition. Where did you find the foundation when you got there? What were some of the things where you're like ticking off, okay, these are the things that probably should be addressed immediately. These are the things I like. These are like, how did you do your kind of initial evaluation coming on? And are there any changes in the offing? Were there any changes that you felt needed to be made sooner rather than later? Or was everything just clicking along fine and you just stepped in and started answering emails?
Pretty much stepped in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The foundation was in very good hands prior to me even coming on. And that's because of our core group of trustees who are all 100% volunteers, our committee members who are non-trustee members, but they're all very active. And out of all the different organizations where I've worked with boards, this is probably the most active and involved board, which means that they all know what's happening. And the staff at the NFDA, everybody here has been so welcoming, and the staff has been phenomenal in terms of trying to help somebody transition into a new role. So for me, it was really about learning about funeral service, learning more about what the impact of the foundation has been over the years. It's been significant, and hats off to all of the leaders, all of the board members, all of the committee members, and former staff that worked very hard to grow the foundation, not just in terms of funds raised, but also the impact for funeral service and funeral profession.
All right, so let's start on the fundraising aspect and then get into the operational aspect. What are some of your important fundraising initiatives? What are the things that you are looking to do, and what are the things that you've already done to make sure that you can fund all of your operations?
I mean, we have a very active donor base, whether they're a lot of our allied professionals are some of our biggest donors and partners. Our board members and other volunteers are all within funeral service and are happy to make connections with other funeral directors and other ownership groups and different service areas to be able to really impact the foundation in such a positive and meaningful way. We would obviously like to raise more money. We're exploring the opportunity to apply for grants from other charitable foundations. We also kind of do something really kind of interesting and collaborative with reaching out to more funeral directors. And, we kind of have a work group task force that's working on some of those initiatives, kind of, the smaller gifts, the $100 a month, $1,000 a year. The annual giving program is really something we're looking to boost up beyond a lot of the larger, very, very generous donations that we receive on an annual basis. Those are very appreciated, but part of it also is giving a voice to funeral directors who can't afford $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $100,000 a year, but really want to make an impact and realize that we're trying to really lift up funeral service in a way that can better effectively, not just retention and recruitment is a big part of our initiatives. We're also kind of at the forefront of creating resources that a lot of funeral homes use for their customers and for their families that they serve.
I know that for example, I'm not a big donor, but I did start giving to my college when I got a job. I mean, I was a philosophy major, so it took a little, and I'm a writer. So, we're not dripping in cash, but the idea that they helped me, and if I can do a little bit, and I don't give much, the president does not know my name. You know, I don't get invited to dinners over over my donations, but I also feel like I'm chipping in for someone else who could use the help that I got, and I'm just chipping in at what I can afford, which is I know very little to them, but I also know that it's a lot to me, and I feel good about the proportion versus, and not to be mercenary about it, but every time I realize how much my education has helped me, I make a mental note. This is why you got to throw a couple dollars back at them just because they helped you get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important feeling. Like there's this, for lack of a better term, it's a transactional kind of, but it's also very much a feeling. And as you look back on where you were and where you are now, what has made the difference? And for a lot of us, it's our education, it's maybe our churches, it's other nonprofits, maybe it's healthcare. Someone's been affected by a disease or an illness. A lot of our donors have benefited from the programs from the Funeral Service Foundation and also the original entity, which was the National Foundation for Funeral Service, which kind of was the first name of the Funeral Service Foundation, dating back to 1945. So a lot of our biggest donors benefited from the educational opportunities that the foundation provided. We've been awarding academic scholarships for over 21 years, and professional development scholarships because we really believe in the future of funeral service. And people are lifelong learners, and they want to learn more. And we know that this industry is always changing and developing. And if you're not keeping up, it's a big loss big loss for your organization and for you.
I want to take a second to talk to you about a webinar we have coming up. It is slated for 2 p.m. on Thursday, July 11th. It will feature Welton Hong, who is the founder and CEO of Ring Ring Marketing. Welton has been doing digital marketing for years and years, and he's come up with a program that he's shared with us, and we will share with you. It's called Boosting Funeral Home Calls, Mastering Digital Marketing in 2024. Had a great conversation with Welton. It's about a 10-minute conversation, and you can watch the video for free on our website now. But one of the things we talked about are these massive changes coming to Google. Google has already started to integrate Gemini into its search results so that now when you ask a question, you get an answer from Google. And it's in beta now, but it will be rolling out. Listen to Welton as he explains the kind of changes that it's going to entail.
Right now, you're typing in funeral home near me, it's sending you to your website. Now, it's like a chatbot. It will rather show you results on the search engine directly. That is relatively new, but by year end, it'll be rolled out to everybody as part of natural search. And that will be a big change. I don't think for the last 10 years, Google had made so much disruption to its own business. It's going to totally change how search looks like, feel like. Where is ad placement, which is Google's main bread and butter, where is it going to go? So there's going to be a lot of changes. So that means currently, if you are hopefully you are enjoying a lot of calls coming from Google, you definitely want to know what's coming here. And I'll be giving you a little bit precursor as to what search looks like in the future.
There's so much more to this. It's funny. I think that people may get caught off guard by how much change we're going to see in search in the next year. And for, people who are just starting to say, all right, I think I've got search nailed. This is not great news, but it is good news that there is a plan and there is a way to adapt what you're already doing to what Google will become. So please join us 2 p.m. Thursday, July 11th, and we will see you there. Link in the show notes. And I think that puts us at a good point to start to talk about some of the scholarships. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start off with the newer ones, which I'll admit, I just learned that they were the newer ones. But the professional development scholarships, I just interviewed two people who got professional development scholarships from you guys. And I can't tell you, but I don't know if I can impress upon the listeners how grateful and how life-changing just the ticket to, I think in both cases it was NFDA, but just the opportunity to go to the conference, I mean, changed both of the trajectories of the two people I spoke with. So can you talk to me about some of those programs and how, and how you kind of can entice people to take them, and what kind of benefits you see from them in the aftermath, I guess, following the conferences and whatever, because you also do regular professional development, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So our goal is to invest in the future of funeral service, and that means investing in funeral service professionals. Our professional development scholarships, that's kind of one bucket of our scholarship program. Really, it's about propelling careers, igniting passion, attending educational opportunities, but also the value of networking.
Yeah.
So here at the NFDA headquarters and Funeral Service Foundation headquarters here in Wisconsin, we just hosted and kicked off the start of our National Emerging Leaders program. So North Star Memorial Group and the foundation are the major sponsors for this program. We had 20 top-notch funeral directors who will be kind of mentored within this program for the next year. So this was an in-person kickoff, but it's a year-long program with leadership development really at the core. Taking very much the principles from Fortune 500 around leadership development is essential for success. So the foundation was a key funder and sponsor for that program. We do, as you mentioned, kind of help underwrite the cost of attendance for scholarship winners to different conventions. The NFDA International Convention and Expo, which will be in October in New Orleans. But coming up too is the Cremation Association of North America. We'll be funding 10 scholars to attend that. Five scholars to attend that. Also coming up in early August is the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association, and we'll be funding 10 scholars to attend that. We're actually in the middle of reviewing those right now, and shortly we'll probably be announcing who those winners are. Right now, what's open on our website for scholarship applications is attendance at the NFDA International Convention and Expo. And then a few months ago, we just had the Professional Women's Conference through the NFDA, and we have the David C. Bowie NFDA Professional Women's Conference scholarships underwritten by the Bowie family. 20 female and non-binary funeral service professionals attend that. That is growing like wildfire. It's just from what I haven't attended it, but from what I hear from attendees and also from our staff, it's just phenomenal. Certainly an opportunity to grow. We also have a Meet the Mentors program, and that was hosted this past year in Washington, D.C. And we believe advocacy is very important for funeral directors to embrace. It was held in conjunction with the NFDA's advocacy efforts out there in DC.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the Meet the Mentors program? Like, what is the mission of it, and what was the most recent one like?
Yeah, so it's really about being able to attend and connect more experienced funeral directors with less experienced funeral directors, and to create mentorship opportunities to connect people and to make sure that they're able to reach out to now colleagues and friends, probably with a little bit more experience, to help shepherd them along when they're facing, probably tough times, which is more often than not when I reach out to my mentors.
Right.
But also just to check in and just to be able to really learn from some of the profession's finest. So a lot of experienced funeral directors will serve as mentors and kind of help kick off that program. And it's really kind of meant to be an ongoing engagement opportunity. And it was done in conjunction with the advocacy efforts. So Capitol Hill visits and meeting with their representatives from all over the U.S.
One of the things that I think is important, again, about the professional development is sometimes I just spoke with Jennifer Floyd, who's running the new mortuary program in San Antonio. They opened an actual funeral home for the work part of it. So they do funerals at the college now. And what was interesting about the way she was discussing it was that there is this there's there's a necessary disconnect between going to school and going to work. Like there are some things that you can only learn by practicing, but if you trust someone to give you advice, just out of the blue advice, someone with whom you've developed a relationship rather than someone who is in charge, quote, of you, I think that can help you develop more, and it can be more meaningful advice.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, I don't always listen to my professors or teachers all the time, but
Right.
I think my most valuable experiences in school were probably the internship opportunities, right, where you actually got to speak with folks who are doing who are doing the work, and not to say that our academia is lacking. It's really a matter of it's just a different perspective, and sometimes it's aspirational. So depending on the specific geographic location, sometimes it's just nice to talk to somebody who just isn't kind of near you.
Well, and to kind of double back on that, when I was interviewing one of the women who was at the Cana conference, she had this idea for a business, and she thought it was maybe a little dumb, and everyone at every turn is like, why aren't you doing this now? I mean, she was working, she wanted to get into pet cremation, and she had like a boutique kind of pet cremation idea in mind. And everyone was like, no, that's an excellent idea. Start doing it tomorrow. And so she arrived, feeling out of place, and she left feeling like the entire industry was rooting for her to succeed. And for someone, and she was in her mid-career, this wasn't a brand new person. She'd been working for a while. It still was an affirmation that she wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Her
Yeah.
bosses might have said, yeah, I guess it's a good idea, give it a shot, because her bosses were happy to let her do this kind of side work. But having the industry, having just strangers at a conference say, no, that's a good idea, no, that's a bad idea, or yes, that's a good idea, here's some advice, here's some suggestions, it was invaluable to her. And it was really, it really drove home for me how much good these networking opportunities are for even not new funeral directors, even funeral directors who've been in 10 or 15 years, but have never been to these massive national conferences where you really see the gamut of the industry.
Yeah, I think it's important to validate, Tony. And I have those feelings too, where I feel like I'm asking those stupid questions, but getting an unbiased opinion and validation and honest feedback, right? If
Right.
somebody said, hey, that's not a great idea, I mean, why? Tell me why. But what we're really finding is these opportunities, not, professionally are great too, but personally, there's a lot of support and needed support from your colleagues. And this is a stressful job. And when you have somebody to reach out to because you've grown your network, it's invaluable.
And now, if we can, I would like to move over to the academic scholarships. Those are more long-standing, and I think maybe more well known. But again, one of the difficulties that I have as a reporter is getting in touch with the people who are running these programs, and not for any other reason. Is just they're insanely busy. Many of them are are funeral directors when they're not teaching. So, how have you had success, and what can you do to get more success in the academic scholarship department? And I'm sorry, also, can you tell me about some of the academic scholarships you offer?
Yes, absolutely. Well, our academic scholarships we're kind of in our 22nd year of awarding scholarships, close to 400 plus academic scholarships. We do two kind of cycles of application review and awarding. Actually, come September 15th, that'll open up kind of the fall session. Applications deadline for that would end November 1st. And then we have a spring term application window from February 15th through April 1st. We have a number of named scholarships. Named scholarships are endowed by generous donors at a minimum of $100,000 to grant out in perpetuity. So number of very, very generous ones. And I'm not going to just name one, because
Right.
if I just name one, I'd have to name them all.
Well, let me help you. I'll put a link in the show notes. How's that?
Exactly. To our webpage, where it really dives into detail. The future of funeral service, people that find funeral service and want to pursue their mortuary science degree here in the United States and in Canada have an opportunity to apply. And anything to minimize debt load, student loans, etc., will benefit these students when they become funeral directors. It's a miracle of, reducing your debt. How much more effective can you be in your profession if that's one less thing you have to deal with? So it's absolutely important. It's essential. And our donors realize that. It will bring more and more people to funeral service and choosing to get their mortuary science degrees. And we run the program ourselves. And then once the scholars win, we cut a check to the institution, and the institution applies it to their cost. It's paid directly to the institution. Scholarships typically will cover tuition, fees, books, and supplies. It doesn't matter whether you're attending class in person or online. As long as they can accept a financial award, they can use it, they can apply. And, I know you'll put a link into the foundation's website, but funeralservicefoundation.org. Our hope is that we continue to have hundreds and hundreds of students apply, which we do have, but that more and more people will consider supporting the scholarship program to ensure that the Funeral Service Foundation can help educate and minimize that debt load for these students.
And just to make sure, if someone is listening now and has seen the light, they can just donate once right on the website, POW.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 2 more quick questions for you. They should be softball-y enough. The first one is, what do you like best about what you do at the Funeral Service Foundation?
Oh, it's the people, Tony. The people make it really amazing, and whether the students that I speak with, the funeral directors, our board, our committees, everybody is super invested in this profession. And I rarely use the word superb. Superb is kind of an understatement, frankly. People that really care about our communities and being surrounded by really wonderful people. And they're invested in their communities. And there's a beauty to that. And there's a beauty in giving back. But a lot of these people just want to see other people do well. And they also want other communities to benefit because they know the value of what funeral service does for a community. It helps us start our grief journey for many of us. It's just inherently important because it truly affects us, as we've learned in COVID and, oftentimes not being able to celebrate in person. It affects our society. And anything we can do to make our world a better place, as pageantry, as that kind of sounds, maybe it sounds too kind of pie in the sky, but maybe it really isn't. And maybe this is a way that we can just chip away at some negativity and just contribute to a positive environment.
That is fantastic. And the last question is a question I ask everyone. Is there anything that you wanted to say that I didn't give you a chance to say? Is there something that you would have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I'm just extremely thankful. And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude to everybody in funeral service, our donors, our volunteers, you, everybody who is really committed to this profession. It's simple gratitude because it wouldn't happen without people wanting to improve things, make things better, and really ensure that this profession survives and thrives and adapts to whatever society wants.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you.
Funeral Service Insider, the podcast, is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. Every week I ask, and every week some of you respond, so I'm going to keep asking. Please follow us wherever you're listening now. If it's on Apple, if it's on Amazon, if it's on Spotify, just click follow, and that way you'll get the shows when they download. For those of you who have been long-term listeners, you'll notice we're doing our weekly In Case You Missed It podcast, which has been a lot of fun to do. It's 10 minutes long, right around. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 7. But it's just a roundup of the week's news that, all the news in fits of print, as they say in Lemony Snicket. But just to bring you up to date on some of the stuff that we're not going to be able to do features on, but things that we think you should know. I hope you guys are getting a kick out of that. You seem to all be downloading that as well, so that makes me very happy. And speaking of downloads, now for the postmortem. We have started another project that is Spotify centric. So as long as you've got your phones out, if you are on Spotify, you should consider following Sem Jams by Ledger Stones. And that is CEM space JAMZ. It is a collection of monthly recommendations by our mysterious contributor Ledger Stones. He's a sexton someplace, or at least that's what he claims. Anyway, there are 3 new songs recommended every month, and they're usually pretty esoteric. They're not the things you might expect. For a sneak preview, in case you're not a subscriber to American Cemetery and Cremation, the songs are Graveyard Shift by the Rubinus, The Graveyard Near the House by the Airborne Toxic Event, and Hollywood Forever Cemetery Sings by Father John Misty. They're all worth checking out. It's a fun playlist to go through. You're gonna hear songs you haven't heard before. That's pretty... If you know all the songs on Cemetery Jams, please reach out and let me know, because I know some of them, but most of them are new to me, and it's a fun way to discover new songs and to follow along with American Cemetery in between monthly issues. Other than that, we are done for the week. There will be no In Case You Missed It podcast this week. It is going to be the 4th of July week, and we're taking off. So we will see you on the 12th with In Case You Missed It, and we will see you on the 11th in Funeral Service Insider, the newsletter, and that'll be all for Funeral Service Insider, the podcast. Thanks for listening.